we all do know that issue that became a controversy to include or not include. Was it included? Was government thinking about it? We're talking about the comprehensive sexuality education. And the president, well, brought a finality to it. And please watch.
I'm sure you've all heard about the recent debate over the introduction of CSE and the accusations that my government and I want to corrupt the morals of our children.
Free senior
I implemented free SHS policy to strengthen accessibility and life-changing education for every Ghanaian child, which will transform into the development of our country. The policy wasn't implemented to corrupt the values of our children. As long as I remain president and a Christian, it will never happen that I will agree to anything which will compromise the values of our society. All the things you heard are not true. Continue to pray for me, for strength, for wisdom on how to govern our country.
This is final, Ni. No comment.
Why? No comment. Roland.
Well, before you come in, let's go onto the line and speak to the Minister of Information, Kujo Nkrumah. And good morning to you and thank you for joining us. Now, the President said the guideline document was rejected. Are we to understand that another is being prepared or that ends it?
Hello.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Roland.
Yes. Okay. And the President said the guideline document was rejected initially. Are we to understand that another is being prepared or that ends it?
Obviously, for any set of guidelines of this nature or any policy of this kind, the Cabinet of the Republic, that is the clearinghouse for policy, will have to be apprised of what this proposed policy is so that it approves it. And then the particular ministry or department or agency that will implement it can now take custody of it and proceed to implement. And I think as the Minister for Education has mentioned and as the President himself has mentioned, it has not been approved by Cabinet. Indeed, the first time it was presented, approval was not granted. And it has been outstanding for a while now. That's why the Minister of Education explained that it is still a draft. It is not something that has been approved. You would recall that typically when things are approved, we will announce that Cabinet has approved whether it's a $300 million road project or it's this policy for science, technology, engineering and maths. Indeed, I recall one of the last briefs I did was that Cabinet had approved, I think, a 70 million euro program for science, technology, education, et cetera, et cetera. So that is a process of governance. As at this stage, as the President mentioned, Cabinet has not approved any such policy. The ministry responsible will have to present its proposal to Cabinet and seek Cabinet approval. And then after that, then they can go and implement it. So it is our expectation that, yes, they will be doing so.
Now, does the President have to necessarily speak to this, considering the fact that the Minister of Education had comprehensive time to speak on the subject? And does it mean that, well, he couldn't be able to sufficiently deal with the subject?
I don't think so. I think that this national conversation in which we have, the fact that you have aired something on your 6 a.m. bulletin doesn't mean that your show may not carry it forward or your prime time program may not carry it forward. These are rolling national conversations that will keep on going for a while. The President was in church yesterday. He also had an opportunity to have audience with the imams and then the clergy to discuss a number of things as he's starting his tour of the Bono, Ashanti, and Eastern regions. And these are matters that have been in the public domain for a while. It would have been strange if the President had played the ostrich and had pretended he wasn't aware of these issues. The proper thing to do was, as part of these engagements, was to make his personal thoughts on this subject or to make his official position on these matters known to the communities that he spoke to yesterday. And he did that quite clearly in church, before the imams, and before the clergy as well.
Do you expect that after this comment by the president, he should end it?
I'm sorry, Roland, I can't hear you.
Do you expect that after the president's comments or commentary on the subject, then it should end all debate on the subject?
I've heard I think the chairman of the Pentecostal and Charismatic churches, forgive me if I mixed up his title, say, for example, that they who raised the issue in the first place have had clarity from the president, and they think that there should be a ceasefire as well. It is our expectation that if anybody still has questions or qualms, we'll have an opportunity to explain and get that person to understand that what we work with is what cabinet has approved and what government has approved. As at this point in time, government has not approved any such policy. The president also mentioned that he does not even contemplate or intend approving any such policy that would open doors for pro-LGBTQ education or age inappropriate education. He has not even intended. So when eventually that draft or when eventually the version that the ministry will bring to cabinet comes to cabinet, in whatever cabinet is approving, he will ensure that those things are not even present. And that's our normative values, our cultural values as a society. The things that we uphold as a people are the ones that are included in this set of guidelines.
Mr. Kujo, thank you for this great interaction there. It's brought clarity on the subject. Well, your comments on this? No comment again, I believe.
No.
We have to comment the president.
We can bring this to a closure. Because so many issues have come up. I don't seem to understand what the Kujo was saying. The president himself said the issue was brought to cabinet. What cabinet proposed was the fact that they should add. That's what the president said. They should add within our cultural values. Yeah. That's what the president said. And it's different from what Kujo Prukuma is telling me today, that the issue was not brought to cabinet. Cabinet looked at it, and cabinet said, we understand, we accepted the guidelines, but add the phrase within our cultural values. So what are they talking about? 2, the Minister for Education just last February has told me and the whole country that this has been approved as guidelines to be introduced into our curriculum in September, beginning this September, from KG to primary 6. So who should I believe at this time?
The president.
And not the minister.
His comment overrules.
And not the minister. Exactly. The president is clearing, as you said, the Koyo Nkrumah himself said, the president has just come in to clear his government of any backlash.
He said cabinet clears policy.
Please, I'm saying that this thing is that I cannot bring a closure to this because we have to go beyond. What about the monies that we're giving for the... In fact, as we are talking today, teachers have been issued letters to report for training on CSE. So if it's not part of your guidelines, why are you training teachers for it?
Training within our cultural values.
Exactly. I think the president has brought a finality to the issue. As far as I'm concerned...
You cannot say anything else.
As we speak now, he was alluding to the fact that the minister said somewhere in February that September it will form part of our curriculum. Is that the case on the ground now? No, that is not the case.
But for civil society,
no, you see,
and but for us,
even if that's
but for the NDC,
even if
and
that
the civil
statement,
society,
even if that statement was made, is that the case now? Do we have it in our curriculum? No. And the president, yes, after having listened to all the comments that are coming up now, decide that let me bring a finality to it. Let's now observe and monitor what is going to happen after this pronouncement from the president, and that should end matters for us. So I think Nee and his colleagues may want to still go back into history and still talk about it. But as far as we are concerned, the president has settled the matter. And then we must move on and then look at the various things
this is a president who has told the whole world that because there has not been a coalition strong enough to advocate for this, when we have built a strong coalition for this, it is bound to happen. So as soon as we see signs like this,
what is going to happen?
But he himself said it.
What is going to happen?
The issue of homosexuality.
But is that no? Are we saying that
comprehensive sexuality education virtually
synonymous?
Yes.
It's now anymore.
Yes, because if it's going to teach our children how to tolerate each other.
Let me tell you.
Do this.
As far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
Tolerate each other.
To tolerate each other.
Yes.
It's a value that myself and you we need to inculcate.
Do we need?
So tolerating who?
No, you can you see.
Who are you tolerating? Honorable Suleiman Adamu
I'm tolerating Neil and Jevandapo.
Okay.
No, please, I beg you.
I'm tolerating you.
Suleiman Adamu Sani, Member of Parliament for Ahafo Ano North, is also the Vice Chair for the Local Government and Rural Development Committee of Parliament, and they and two other committees of Parliament in the company of the ranking, who is here as well, Member of Parliament for Ododudu, a former Deputy Minister of Local Government as well as for sports, had been great experience in trade as well. And Neelante van der Poy, Ododudu Member of Parliament, thank you for your interaction as well. I've enjoyed the interaction, and we're hoping that we can have this advocacy going so well and the buy-in taken. But we have to move on.
But Joy should try and get the pictures of the landfill sites we visited.
We will go
from your original correspondence.
We'll go there
and show it and let people see how serious it is.
We have to go and see the pictures. Yeah. And well, we have to talk entertainment, and as always, Awake Purified Water is always available to bring us AM Showbiz. Stay with us.